when you run a business here in America, you got a couple of things you got to remember. You got to set up your entity. You need your office. You need sales. You need a lawyer, but you also need an accountant. So I'm very happy. Ryan Lodish is my guest here today. Ryan, welcome.
Thank you.
And please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ryan Lodish, and I work at Berkowitz, Pollack, Brant. We are a top 100 firm, and we have offices in South Florida and New York, and we are constantly looking to expand. We do a variety of tax services and financial services. We try to be a one-stop shop for anything tax and financial. But I'm here to talk to you about a couple international issues that may come up when you're bringing your business to the United States.
Yeah, because that's the business we're all both in. Right. We have European clients far away from anywhere in the world. They come here to the States. So all of a sudden, there's like that inter-company thing or inter-country thing. Right. Can you explain a little bit more how that works?
Sure. So when you're a foreign company coming to the United States and you're in the business of, goods or services, it doesn't matter, and you have a U.S. entity and whether it's Dutch entity, any type of foreign entity, and you're doing buying and selling between the two entities, and they're under common ownership, which in layman's terms just means that you own both of them, a majority of both. There's what's called transfer pricing rules. And what that means is transfer pricing rules regulate how you buy and sell to yourself, essentially. And what's important is the government wants you to make sure you're paying market price for goods that you're buying to and from yourself across nations, because each government would like to receive their fair share of tax revenue. So they worry about people moving income to different countries to avoid taxes. And it's one of those underrated rules that you have to pay attention to and be in accordance with. Otherwise, you might be slapped with unfortunate penalties or something like that.
We don't want that.
No, we don't.
Now, the other thing is that when you come here, sometimes I try to explain that America with 50 states, right, it's almost like 50 countries, yeah, because you got like federal and state taxes and city taxes. How can I comply with all those different taxes?
Yeah, the United States is kind of funny because it is one country, like you said, but it is also individual states. And what happens is you come here and do business in America and you think, oh, we have our federal tax forms, our federal tax. But in addition, you have state and local taxes. And each state has their own unique regulations that you have to abide by with federal regulations. So it's really important when you're conducting business in the United States to know where you're conducting business, to make sure you can file the appropriate state tax forms as well as the federal tax forms. It can get very confusing, so it's really important to reach out to your tax advisor and figure out what applies where. And unfortunately, it's not as cut and dry.
No, because we have a different system here than, for example, in the Netherlands or in Europe. Here but how does that work? You take care of that all? Can I just make it your problem?
Yeah. Yes, 100%. So what we do is we'll evaluate your business and what you're doing, and we'll look at, do you have a sale to Ohio and you're based in Florida? And what we would do is we'd say, okay, here are your federal, income tax deductions, et cetera. But also, what is Ohio going to require from you? And as far as filing goes and what you might owe in that state. So absolutely, that's something you come to us, we'll full service, we'll look at the entire thing.
Now, I do know it's always difficult to give like tax advice because every company is different. So this is just me, you talking about it. But right. And I also know that there's a tax treaty with, for example, the Netherlands. Yeah. But how do I avoid paying double taxes? I don't mind paying some taxes, but double taxation, how does that work?
So if you paid or have accrued to pay foreign taxes, depending on which country you are from and what taxes you paid, there are what's called a foreign tax credit in the United States. And we would evaluate which treaty per country. And there is a lot of ways where you may get a credit for the taxes you already paid on income that was generated in the United States. because we're not trying to hurt you in both countries. We want to make it, the idea is to make it fair if you're paying tax in one to help you with the other, but it really just depends on which country it is, because the United States has different relationships with every country around the world.
I wonder how you keep track of it, man. It's like, 50 states, and I should Google this, like 196 countries, so that's thousands of rules.
Yes.
And then at the end of the day, you have to file your taxes here in America as an American company.
Yes.
Do I also file my personal taxes here, as I'm just here for a couple of weeks out of the year? How does that work?
So it really depends on your situation, and you have to evaluate, one, how long you were here, and two, your status in the country. And that's can be a complicated formula.
More rules.
Yeah. More rules, but it's something that, like, as a tax advisor, we look into and help you establish. So the answer is maybe.
Okay. Now, I hear a lot of times that people, and I know this is not true, but they say, the company can buy a boat and then I pay less taxes. So it's like a tax credit, or can you explain a little bit more how that would, because we're not used to that one in Europe?
Yeah. So that situation is a little bit more structuring, but what we have here is called tax credits and tax deductions. And essentially, the difference is a tax deduction goes against your income, your actual taxable income. So that would go against, something you made. Whereas a tax credit is you look at the tax liability, what you're expected to owe, and then you get a dollar for dollar credit against that amount. So it's really important to look at both and see how you can maximize, because you may be eligible for credits and deductions.
And at the end of the day, it starts with a phone call.
Exactly.
Just call you guys, and you can probably figure out all these rules and regulations and make sure you're compliant.
Yes, and it's very important not only to be compliant, but you also, help with strategy and structuring, and we figure out where best to put you and how your business is growing, and we want to grow with you and help you expand.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Ryan, for being my guest. You see a lot of different rules, regulations, and we just brushed on some topics. Below this video, you will find all the information of your firm and your email and address and everything. Feel free to reach out to him. And thank you for watching this episode. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you for your time as well.
Thank you.